Hello, English learners, and welcome. I'm your host, Paul. How are you doing today? I'm doing well, thank you, and I am beyond excited to chat about English learning today. But before we start, I want to ask you a question that might feel a bit uncomfortable. Have you ever felt like a genius when you are listening to English, but like a complete, total beginner the second you try to speak? You know exactly what I'm talking about. You sit down to watch your favorite movie, and you realize you're following every single word. You feel proud, and you should. You've reached a high level of passive comprehension. But then, the moment of truth arrives. You try to have a casual conversation with a native speaker, and suddenly, bam! It's like hitting a massive, invisible concrete wall. Your brain freezes. Your throat tightens. The words that were just floating in your head 5 seconds ago simply vanish. This phenomenon affects millions of learners worldwide, and it can be so incredibly frustrating. It feels like you've been invited to a party, but you're forced to stand behind a glass window. You get all this input, movies, podcasts, books, but actually producing the language feels like a Herculean task. So, that is exactly what we're going to dig into today. This isn't just a quick tip video. This is a masterclass in breaking the barrier between your ears and your mouth. First off, let's analyze the fundamental question. Why is speaking so much harder than just getting what you hear or read? Understanding is like being a spectator at a concert. You are receiving energy and information. But speaking? Speaking is actually being the one on stage, under the spotlight, playing the instrument. And like any instrument, it takes physical practice to get those specific muscles working together. In your brain, you have two main areas for language. One is Wernicke's area, involved in comprehension. The other is Broca's area, responsible for speech production. Most English learners spend 90% of their time exercising Wernicke's area and almost 0% exercising Broca's area. You're trying to run a marathon with legs that have only ever watched other people run on TV. This leads us to the mental translation trap. Thinking in your native language, then trying to find the English equivalent, then applying grammar rules, it's a huge roadblock. By the time you've finished this internal process, the conversation has moved on. English has its own rhythm and flow. When you translate, you aren't speaking English. You are speaking your native language using English words. You must start thinking in English. It's not about flipping a switch. It's a gradual process of rewiring your brain. You have to make English the natural pathway for your thoughts. Think about your daily routine. When you wake up, instead of thinking in your native tongue, force your brain to say, I need to take a shower or I'm going to brush my teeth. These are tiny, simple sentences, but you are telling your brain that English is a direct tool for reality. You are building an immersion environment. You don't need to move to London to do this. Change the language settings on your phone right now. Every time you see settings, instead of your native word, your brain receives a spark of reinforcement. Build a massive mental library of English sounds and structures. But let's be real. This takes effort. Consistency is the only key that opens the door to fluency. 5 minutes every day is better than 5 hours once a month. You are building a muscle. And as you build that muscle, you have to face the biggest challenge, fear. The fear of making mistakes, of sounding dumb, or being judged. But here's a secret. Everybody makes mistakes. Even native speakers mess up their grammar. When you talk to a native speaker, they aren't listening to your grammar. They're listening to your ideas. They want to connect with you. Change your perspective on mistakes. Stop seeing them as failures and start seeing them as learning opportunities. Every mistake is a piece of data. Every time you realize you said something wrong, your brain is actually self-correcting and growing. Celebrate your courage to open your mouth. That is a massive victory. Now, let's accelerate your progress with a technique called shadowing. Listen to a native speaker and repeat exactly what they are saying almost at the same time. Don't wait for them to finish. Follow them like a shadow. Why is this so effective? Because you are practicing the music of English, the intonation, the stress, and the rhythm. It's a real-time vocal workout that trains your mouth muscles. You pick up natural connections like wanna instead of want to. It builds your confidence because your brain experiences what it feels like to be fluent. Start small, focusing on the tiny details. Another tip is using survival phrases like, "Could you repeat that?" or "What do you mean by?" as your safety net. Master them until they are automatic. Owning the language also means using your phone's voice recorder. Recording yourself is like having a world-class coach for free. Talk for 2 minutes about a topic you love, then listen back. It might be uncomfortable, but it's where the magic happens. Listen for your pronunciation and the smoothness of your speech. Are you pausing too much? Then practice speaking in longer chunks. English is full of prefabricated chunks like "by the way," or "as far as I know." Native speakers don't build sentences word by word. They grab these big blocks of meaning. Learn in chunks, and you will stop sounding like a robot. Fluency is the ability to communicate your ideas smoothly without constantly searching for words. It's a journey, not a destination. You are literally changing the physical structure of your brain through neuroplasticity. Every time you practice, you're building a high-speed highway between your thoughts and your vocal cords. You need to develop resilience of speech. Give yourself permission to be a beginner. Give yourself permission to be bad at something until you become good at it. As we conclude, remember that speaking English is a superpower. It gives you access to a world of information and friendships. You aren't just learning words, you are becoming a global citizen. My final challenge to you is, today, don't just study English. Live in English. Speak one sentence out loud. Record yourself for 60 seconds. The wall is not as thick as it looks. With every word you speak, you are taking a hammer to that wall. One day, very soon, you will realize the wall is gone. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Keep practicing, believe in yourself, and keep those words flowing.